I'm Dr. Fernando Gomes. I'm a neurosurgeon and neuroscientist, and now I have the pleasure to be here with the most famous quantum physics professor Amit Goswami and complementary therapist Adrienne Champion, and we will talk about quantum physics, about neuroscience and health.
Wonderful subject. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you very much, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We know that the brain works and we can feel all the things of the environment. We can change the world with the power of our brain and other muscles. We have more than 100 billions of neurons. Each one does at least 10,000 synapses. But I'd like to know, in your point of view, what the reality is.
Well, the fundamental problem of the brain are twofold. How much the brain can handle in terms of conscious experience, but really, ultimately, the idea is crucial to understand. How does the brain have conscious experience at all? Because brain is an object. Objects cannot make experience. Experience requires two poles, subject and object. So, this is why I'm talking with you. You know the objects very well, brain, but only quantum physics, all human history can provide finally an explanation of why the brain has a self. This is the big breakthrough.
Well, we know as a doctor and a surgeon that, for example, a traumatic brain injury can change the brain, a surgery, some pills, even electricity, or psychological therapy can change the matter indeed. But it's possible to change the brain of another person just with the power of our thought.
Obviously, because I say something to you, you become emotionally upset, and that will have an effect on your brain. So brain processes meaning, feeling, even intuitions that are not material. I don't need to have particles emitted from my body that goes into your brain, or physical waves of sound or physical waves of light, because very little energy are contained in these physical waves. In this physical way, we think communication occurs between two brains. But that's absurd. How little physical energy can produce so much change? This is just not very likely. What we react to is the meaning. What we react to is vital energy that you feel because I said something that communicates. And the mystery is that what is making the communication? Quantum physics says it's our consciousness that really makes the communication. I say something and that has meaning. Meaning is conveyed to you through this consciousness into your meaning processing capacity, that is called the mind. So your mind gives meaning to what I said, and your mind is connected to your brain, so brain is affected. That's the only way we can really understand these things.
So it's possible to be healthy just with a way of thinking?
Absolutely. I mean, this is now, your colleague would know more about this, but Larry Dossey wrote books in 1980s suggesting that meaning can affect health in a major way. And of course, everybody knows about the effect of mental stress today on chronic disease and our health in general. So there is no question that meaning has a major effect on our health.
Do we have more than just our physical body?
We are more than our physical body. There's no doubt about it. We have a vital energy body connected with the fact that we are alive. We have a mental body connected with the fact that we have a brain that makes representations of our thoughts. So brain and mind gets correlated in quantum language, mediated by consciousness. And we even have archetypal values that we can intuit, again, via consciousness. And those intuitions, although they cannot be directly represented our brain only makes representations of mental thought, but they can be represented in mental thought first, and then into the brain, or vital energies first and then into the body, the organs. So in this way, we have 4 different experiences that produce a 4th type of progressive existence of the human being, and it's a huge personal growth, because imagine the sensing human, just the elementary human who really is a hunter and gatherer, but of course we are civilized now, so he hunts different things than animals, right? And gatherers similarly gather different things, maybe not fruits, but shoes in a department store. But that hunter-gatherer mentality continues. It's a physical mind, least personal growth. And then we have the vital mind, which knows about emotions, more centered in heart, know how to love. And then we have the thinking mind. Both men are. I was, you are still probably, or coming out of it gradually, because I just know what you write, and those books could not be written by a man of purely brain and thinking mind. And then there's the intuitive mind, the great mystics, people like Gandhi, people like Mother Teresa, and Dalai Lama. So, that's another level of being that we can all aspire. And the big news of neuroscience, as you know very well, is neuroplasticity. It says that you can grow personally as much as you wish. Brain can handle it. Brain can handle it. So there we are.
We have some experience with some patients, for example, that of course we diagnose a brain tumor, for example, and you have to take it away. But after that, there is some complaints that the complementary therapist can help.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes. A lot of patients, they feel better with the therapy with all these alternative therapies, and I feel that they feel better. All the energy changes, yes, the humor. There is a better quality of life for them. How do you think these therapies can help people nowadays, meaning the health of them, not only the traditional medicine? How do you think the alternative therapies can help people's health?
Indeed, because we said that the vital energies, feelings, affect health, because feelings come to us through the representations that the organ makes of what we say liturgical fields, purposive fields that program the organs. The organs has to perform purposive functions. These material laws are causal. They cannot bring purpose to the organ. This is the fundamental mistake that biologists still make. Purpose has to come through consciousness. And consciousness uses these liturgical fields. Liturgy means in Greek, purposive. This purpose into the organs. And it expresses itself turning on the right genes for an organ which functions as a brain versus an organ which functions as a liver versus an organ which functions as a toe. Very different function, very different set of genes are turned on, very different set of proteins are made. But who turns on these special genes? This is the idea of liturgical fields. Liturgical fields turn on the special genes that control which genes will be turned on and which genes will make which proteins. In this way, we are introducing a new component, and the problem that the materialist had is that if these components, these fields are non-physical, how do they interact with the physical? That's the problem that fundamentally is changing our worldview. They do it because communication does not require signals anymore. Communication through consciousness is called non-local, without signals. So, having solved this problem, we now can understand a whole bunch of things that we always have known. We just have not used it because we thought it's kind of wishful thinking, thinking could not be real, because how could they possibly affect? Nothing physical about singing, nothing physical about rubbing your hands and then putting it on the body of a person. They're kind of incredible what you guys do. But now quantum physics says real things happen when people do that, because these energies, non-physical energies, consciousness mediates, and they have their effect on the...
And we are very responsible for our self-healing.
Absolutely.
Using our thoughts, our positive thoughts, yes, and liberating, and negative thoughts, let it go. Yes.
Yeah, but positive thought, not per se, positive emotional thought. And negative
thoughts.
Emotional thought. Negative
Right.
emotional thought produces disease, positive emotional thought can heal us.
Okay.
And especially thoughts which are fundamentally purposive in us. For example, I'm talking about emotions like love, emotions like wholeness. These emotion of wholeness, emotion of love, they open up new functions of organs that didn't exist before. This also has been known in spiritual traditions. They're called Kundalini phenomena.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. My last book, I wrote something about the neuroscience of love, and so many papers studying the brain through MRI or electricity or neurotransmitter. But indeed, in Occidental society, we know that the love, the couple love, there is phases. For example, at the beginning, passion. After that, romantic love. And after that, companion love. 30% divorce, get divorced. But see, when you have the passion phase, we have the love. We have the body touching body. We have pleasure. So much more than a reward cerebral system very activate. Much more than dopamine giving this happiness. We are talking about maybe starting a new life. And you said something about Kundalini. And we know how the body starts to develop inside the utero. But what about the another 3 or 4 spiritual bodies or not?
Yes.
Physical bodies.
Yes, this is the basic point. But let's go back to your romantic love a little bit. Why it cannot be just pure dopamine and why we continuously need it. The new worldview explains the chakras, as I said. This is the places where the purposive liturgical fields are represented by the organs. So the organ at this place, heart, there is a special organ, part of the immune system called thymus gland. This thymus gland's function is to distinguish between me and not me, distinguish between myself and other. So if the thymus gland function is suspended, then you are not separate from me anymore, right?
Yeah.
You and me are one. Now, if the person is opposite sex, then that naturally releases a certain amount of passion to possess each other's body. And that's what you are talking about, and that's what we call romantic love. And the conventional model is that, oh, it's just dopamine, it's just endorphin. You know, sexual intercourse gives endorphins, fine. Those are fine, I mean, that exists. But every woman knows that after sex, there is an afterglow, and cuddling produces that, and it expands consciousness. And you feel wonderful. It's a kind of happiness, not that kind of molecular pleasure that you get from dopamine or endorphin. But this is different. This is something that stays with you and takes the molecular excitement of romantic love to a level where you want to do this more, not just the romantic part, the physical part, but also this expansion of consciousness bit. And this really is what we call unconditional love, beginning of it. So, of course, men have to change their habits of going to sleep immediately after orgasm, but that's a little bit work, can be done, and men will only be happy for it. So, coming back, this kind of thing, when we take seriously, and then Kundalini can rise and then finish the job of discovering unconditional love. That's the readjustment of how we experience feeling, how these liturgical fields are reprogramming the thymus gland immune system so that we can even call an awakening of the heart. This is what women through ages have insisted that men don't do, but they do and they have, and it is true. So, it is true because I have found that yes, it is true. I could finally do it after 40 years of exploration. So, really, some things that people thought is folklore, just imagination, wishful thinking, we find that quantum physics explains it, makes it scientific. Neuroscience validates it because we do find all those things that we need, like heart, for example. Who knew that there would be a little brain in the heart, this huge bundle of neurons? So these are things that we discover because our times are insisting that we look our whole picture. We are not just that old physical body that we used to think we are. We are much more.
Yeah. And finally, the last but not the least important question, what is indeed quantum activism? And how become a man or a woman quantum activist?
It's very simple. Quantum worldview is fundamentally telling us about the importance of certain movements, certain ways that we can communicate that the Newtonian worldview cannot permit. Newtonian worldview promotes locality. All interactions must be through local signals, which have a finite speed, can never be instant. They always have to go through space. So if you and I communicate with local signals, we will always be separate. But quantum physics has this wonderful concept, which has been experimentally verified, called non-locality. Communication, instant communication is possible without exchanging signal. Now think about it. Whom do I communicate instantly? Myself, of course. So you and me are not separate anymore. We have become one. So this kind of concept, of course, have existed, but people always thought they were wishful thinking. Quantum worldview brings them back and says, no, look, they are scientific. And now, the latest, most exciting neuroscience discovery that I know of is the fact that brain operates in two different ways. One is very local, that's the ordinary ego operation. But there is also a non-local operation where many parts of the brain work synchronously. And this is just an astounding discovery thanks to the new technique of functional MRI. But this is very real. I mean, we see the brain light up in its different places, and even the brain waves have a signature of high frequency gamma waves instead of the usual beta waves. So there is just no doubt about it that we have this non-local capacity of being in that what we call quantum self. So what I'm saying is that the quantum worldview presents us with challenges for self-transformation, and when we start doing it, we are a quantum activist. Not only that, we realize that if we just change ourselves, then we have to depend on our livelihood, on social systems that are not in sync with this changing me. So we must also change the social systems at the same time. Coincidentally, social systems right now are in problems everywhere.
Talking about love.
Talking about love is very important because what dominates the social systems today is hate. We have democracy breaking down because too many people hate each other. Countries are polarized between factions. And that got to change. People got to sit down and be able to talk. If the heart opens, imagine the impact of that. So this is what quantum activism is about. How to bring our physical centeredness, material centeredness, me-centeredness, to some community self-centeredness, some unity self-centeredness, some going out of that what is in it for me mindset that has produced the social problems that we see today.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very
for
much.
having us. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you.